What if I told you that silence, not anger, not words, is the most powerful response you'll ever give her? Most men think that if they explain themselves again, show how much they care or prove their love, she'll finally understand. But the truth is, every word you say after the breakup only weakens your presence in her mind. The real shift happens when you stop trying to be heard and start mastering your silence. When you walk away, not in bitterness, but in quiet strength. That's when she starts to feel your absence like a shadow she can't shake. Walking away isn't giving up. It's leveling up. Right now, you're standing at the edge. You can either beg to be seen or disappear with purpose and become unforgettable. And if you're ready to let your silence speak louder than any words ever could, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence is strength. Let's dive in. Number 1. Stop pursuing someone who's already walking away. Right now, chasing is the only option. You tell yourself that if you try a little harder, say the right things, and prove your love again, maybe she'll reconsider. Maybe she'll realize your worth. But chasing someone walking away is one of the quickest ways to lose your dignity, value, and most importantly, self-respect. It's a trap that too many men fall into, and it's a trap you must escape if you want to reclaim your power. The Stoics teach us that desire without reason is a form of madness, and what is chasing someone who's turned their back on you if not a desire untethered from logic? You're not pursuing a person who values you. You're pursuing a memory, a fantasy, a version of her that no longer exists. That's not love. That's emotional dependence disguised as loyalty. Whenever you text, call, or try to prove your worth, you message her and yourself, "I'm not enough without her." But that's a lie, and deep down you know it. When you stop chasing, something powerful begins to shift. The silence you offer is no longer just the absence of words. It becomes a message, a loud one. It forces her to feel the weight of your absence. No longer flooded with your affection, your availability, or your emotional reactions, she starts to wonder, why isn't he trying anymore? Why does it feel like he's letting go? That's the seed of doubt, and that doubt grows the longer you stay quiet and centered. From the lens of dark psychology, silence isn't just discipline, it's disruption. It disrupts her emotional pattern. She was used to being pursued. She expected emotional validation even if she didn't want to be with you. Your withdrawal unsettles her because it's no longer on her terms. She thought she had control, but control only exists when someone responds. When you don't respond, you take that control back, not just from her, but for yourself. But this isn't about playing games. It's about shifting from reaction to intention. You no longer act out of desperation, but out of clarity. You stop asking why she doesn't want you and start asking yourself, why do I want someone who doesn't want me? That question is your turning point, and from there you begin the real journey back to yourself. Let her feel your absence. Let her question your silence. But most importantly, let yourself grow in that quiet. Because the man who stops chasing doesn't just become more attractive, he becomes more powerful. Not because he makes her miss him, but because he finally chooses himself. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 2. Master your emotions before they master you. In the days following heartbreak, the storm inside you feels endless. You replay conversations, overanalyze her every word, and spiral into questions you'll never get answers to. You feel everything: pain, anger, confusion, regret, colliding simultaneously. And while these emotions are natural, what you do with them determines who you become. Pain is not weakness, but acting on pain without control, that's where most men lose themselves. The Stoics didn't deny emotion, they mastered it. Right now, you may feel tempted to express how hurt you are, lash out, vent, and prove that you're still emotionally invested. But stop and ask yourself, what does that give you? Does it bring you peace? Does it change her mind? Or does it just remind her that she still has power over your heart? Emotions are data, not directives. They are meant to be observed, not obeyed. And when you allow your emotions to drive your actions, you surrender your frame. You become a passenger in your own mind. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." In moments of heartbreak, your freedom is on the line. If you respond to pain with desperation, you reinforce her perception that she was right to leave. But if you meet your pain with composure, poise, and presence, you confuse her expectations. She thought you'd unravel. Instead, you rebuilt. Here's where dark psychology offers a compelling insight. Composure is power. When you remain calm in the face of rejection, you become unpredictable. Your lack of reaction throws her off balance. She expects you to break, to plead, to show emotional dependence. Your silence, your discipline, your restraint, they disturb her narrative. Suddenly, you're not the heartbroken man she thought she left. You're someone she can't read. But this isn't just about confusing her, it's about clarifying yourself. You must realize that being emotional doesn't make you weak, but being ruled by your emotions absolutely does. Every time you feel the urge to reach out, to check in, to explain your pain, pause, breathe. Then redirect that energy. Hit the gym, create something, build something, learn something. Channel that chaos into construction. Pain is energy, and energy, when focused, becomes transformation. Imagine how different you become when you can feel deeply and still act rationally. That's not suppression, that's command. The man who can walk through fire and not flinch, he becomes a mystery. He becomes a force. And that force is far more magnetic than emotional volatility could ever be. Your goal is not to be numb. Your goal is to be sovereign, to feel everything and still choose your actions, to remain grounded in your purpose even when the world is falling apart. That's the kind of man she never forgets, not because you begged, but because you didn't break. Now speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 3. Let your silence speak louder than any words. You might think the only way to regain control or her attention is to speak up, to explain, to pour your heart out. But what if I told you that the loudest message you could send isn't a confession or a carefully worded apology? It's silence. True, complete, disciplined silence. It doesn't beg. It doesn't seek approval. It simply exists. And that stillness shakes everything she thought she knew about you. Most men try to talk their way back into relevance. They send long messages, rehearse perfect responses, and try to resolve emotional tension with logic or vulnerability, but this doesn't work. Not because your words lack meaning, but because your presence has become too accessible. She doesn't need to wonder what you're thinking, she already knows. You've made it clear through your reactions, outreach, and availability. You've made yourself emotionally predictable, and that kills attraction. Here's where the Stoics give us something radically different. They believed that wisdom isn't in how much you say, but in knowing when saying nothing is more powerful. Speech is easy. Silence takes strength. It demands emotional discipline. It requires the humility to accept that not every feeling needs to be expressed, especially not to someone no longer invested. Dark psychology refers to this as reverse pursuit. When you pull back completely, you break her mental pattern. She expected you to be hurt. She expected you to fight for her, seek closure, and validate her importance. But you give her nothing. You go silent. Not as manipulation, but as a declaration of detachment. She's no longer your priority. You've chosen your peace over her presence. And that absence, it's deafening. When you stop explaining yourself, she starts asking questions. When you no longer try to prove your value, she wonders if she misjudged it. When you're no longer there to feed her ego, she begins to feel its emptiness. Silence in this way becomes a psychological mirror. It forces her to reflect, not on you, but on herself. But the impact goes deeper than her. Silence changes you too. It gives you space to process, breathe, and rebuild your inner frame without constant emotional interference. You stop reacting and start recentering. Stop needing to be heard by her because you've finally started listening to yourself. You don't just get distance, you gain clarity. Eventually, she may try to re-enter your world. A message, a like, a memory sent as bait, but by then you've already moved past needing her validation. Your silence won't just be a tactic, it will be your new language. A language she can't interpret. A strength she can't weaken. Because silence isn't the absence of feeling, it's the presence of power. Now, speak out and comment below. My silence speaks louder than her attention. Number 4, her rejection isn't about you, it reflects her limits. Rejection hits hard. It shakes your sense of self, clouds your mind, and tempts you into self-blame. You start asking yourself all the wrong questions. Was I not enough? Did I say something wrong? What could I have done differently? But here's the truth that changes everything. Her rejection isn't a statement about your value, it's a mirror reflecting her capacity to receive it. The Stoics remind us that we control only our responses, not outcomes. You can show up fully, lead honestly, and offer your best, and still be met with indifference, confusion, or even cruelty. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you encountered someone who couldn't meet you where you are. You weren't rejected because you lacked worth. You were rejected because she lacked the awareness or emotional maturity to recognize it. Dark psychology flips this further. When someone rejects a strong, disciplined, loyal man, they're often reacting not to who you are, but to how you make them feel about themselves. Your presence highlighted something uncomfortable. Maybe you reminded her of what she isn't. Maybe your emotional stability exposed her chaos. Maybe your consistency felt foreign in a world where she's only known for games and validation. In that context, your value became intimidating, not because it was flawed, but because it was too real. This is why your emotional response to rejection matters so much. If you fall apart, chase her, or spiral into desperation, you prove her right, that you were dependent on her approval. But if you respond with calm detachment, you interrupt her script. She expected you to break, instead you build. She expected you to plead, instead you walk away in silence. That silence creates discomfort, not because you're punishing her, but because it removes the emotional control she thought she had, and in that void she wonders, did I underestimate him? Was I too quick to leave? But by then, you've already realized the most important truth. Rejection is not a wound, it's redirection. It's a good image. When you internalize this, everything shifts. You stop chasing people who can't meet you. You stop arguing with people who can't hear you. You stop proving your value to people who never deserved access to it in the first place. And suddenly, rejection isn't a threat. It's a filter. One that clears your path of the wrong people so you can focus on your own evolution. So the next time you're rejected, don't ask what was wrong with you. Ask what you're being freed to become. Because when you see rejection not as a reflection of your failure, but as a refinement of your path, you gain something no one can take from you: unshakable peace. Now, speak out and comment below. Her rejection doesn't define me, it releases me. Number 5. Reclaim your power by controlling your time. There's one resource more valuable than money, attention, or even love: your time. And how you spend it is the clearest signal of who holds the power in any relationship. When you continuously offer your time, presence, and energy to someone who no longer values it, you slowly drain yourself of authority, dignity, and influence. You become available, predictable, and unfortunately, forgettable. After rejection or abandonment, many men fall into a cycle of over-availability. They lurk on social media, wait for a message, stay emotionally tied through memories, or maintain a line of communication just in case she comes around. But the truth is harsh. The more time you give her in your head, the less power you hold in your life. The Stoics believed in living deliberately, with intention, not impulse. They understood that time once spent could never be recovered. So ask yourself honestly, how much of your day, thoughts, and peace is still devoted to someone who has already walked away? That silent sacrifice is the cost of clinging, and the longer you offer it, the deeper you dig the hole of emotional dependence. Dark psychology offers a darker but empowering mirror. Scarcity creates value. When your time is everywhere, it's invisible, but you become rare when you withdraw it, completely and without explanation. Elusive. Suddenly your absence is louder than any words. She starts to notice the shift. You're no longer orbiting her world. You're no longer checking in, watching, waiting. You've become unavailable, and that change, it unsettles her. She might not say it out loud, but it plants a seed of doubt. Why is he so quiet? Where did he go? Did I lose him for good? The uncertainty makes your time feel more valuable than ever, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've genuinely redirected your focus to yourself. By taking your time back, you stop waiting for her to validate your worth. You invest in your health, your goals, your future. You stop leaking energy into what was and begin fueling what's next. And over time, you become the kind of man who no longer wonders if she'll return, because he's too busy building a life she could never have imagined. So protect your time, guard it like treasure, because once you realize how much of it you've been giving away, you'll understand why your value felt invisible. You were everywhere when you needed to be, unreachable. Now speak out and comment below. My time is mine. I choose where it flows. Number 6. Let her feel the weight of your absence. You can check in, to say one last thing, to send a message that reminds her of what you shared. That temptation, the need to make her remember you, is rooted in fear. Fear that she's forgotten you, moved on, or worse, doesn't feel the loss. But here's the reality. She can't feel your absence if you never truly give it to her. When you keep showing up, through texts, through likes, through subtle signals of availability, you rob her of the one thing that could trigger her realization: silence. True, unwavering, uncomfortable silence. It's not meant to punish, it's not about ego, it's about creating the psychological space where she's forced to confront what she walked away from. The Stoics taught that clinging to what you cannot control leads to suffering, and you cannot control her feelings, you cannot force regret, you cannot manufacture realization, but what you can do and must do is remove your presence completely. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because when you keep giving her your emotional energy, you become an enabler to her decision. You soften the blow of her absence. You make leaving feel easy, painless, and reversible. Dark psychology refers to this as imposed absence, a powerful form of cognitive dissonance. When you suddenly vanish from someone's reality without fanfare, explanation, or emotional leakage, they feel your presence more than when you were there. It's a paradox. Your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. And what does she feel in that silence? Uncertainty, tension, regret, questions. Is he okay? Did I make a mistake? Why isn't he chasing me like I thought he would? She starts checking your socials, maybe messaging mutual friends, maybe even considering reaching out. Not because she's sure she wants you back, but because she's no longer sure where she stands with you. And that doubt, it's only possible when you stop offering your presence as comfort. But here's the key. This only works if your absence is real, not strategic, not for effect. It must be total. She left, so let her leave. And then leave with her. Emotionally, mentally, digitally. Let her experience the space you once filled, and let that space echo with questions she never thought she'd ask. And for you, that absence becomes sacred. It gives you the peace to grow, the distance to gain perspective, and the silence to hear yourself again. You start to see how much energy you wasted trying to be remembered, when your true power was in being missed. Now, speak out and comment below. Let silence speak what words never could. Number 7, she chose to leave. Now you choose to forget. There's a moment every man faces after being left, a moment where you realize she made her choice, and now you must make yours. Do you keep hoping? Do you keep revisiting the past, replaying every memory, holding the door open just in case she wants to walk back in? Or do you take the harder road, the Stoic road, and choose to let go completely? The most powerful response to her leaving is not anger, not revenge, not passive-aggressive messages or subtle social media updates. It's this: emotional neutrality, that state where she no longer triggers you, where you no longer care to explain your worth, where you look at her not with pain or longing, but with peace. Not because you never loved her, but because you finally chose yourself. The Stoics believed that attachment to things outside our control is the root of suffering. And what is more outside your control than someone else's choice to walk away? You can't reason your way into her heart. You can't perform your way into her regret. But what you can do is reclaim your focus, shift your energy inward, detach the outcome and attach it to your mission. When you stop trying to bring her back, something incredible happens. You move forward. You stop looking over your shoulder. You stop hoping for that message. You stop wondering if she thinks about you. And in doing so, you build momentum. You start showing up differently. You lift heavier. You speak clearer. You stand taller. You become the kind of man who doesn't chase because he doesn't need to. And while you evolve, she may notice. She might check your profile. She might reach out. But by then it won't matter, because the version of you she left, that man is gone, replaced by someone who isn't interested in proving anything, someone who no longer seeks closure or a second chance, someone who realizes that her leaving wasn't the end, it was the beginning. In dark psychology, this shift is known as emotional asymmetry. The person who cares less holds the power, but in Stoicism, the goal isn't power over others, it's power over yourself. You stop caring not as a tactic, but as truth. You release the past. You release her. And in doing so, you find something far more important than her approval, your own peace. So let her remember the man you used to be, the one who waited, the one who hoped, but let her never meet the man you become. Because that man doesn't wait for those who walked away. That man forgets. That man moves forward. That man is free. Now speak out and comment below. She made her choice. I choose to forget. Number 8. Purpose is magnetic. Love alone is not enough. You once believed that love was the ultimate bond, that if you gave enough of it, time, affection, devotion, she'd stay. If you prioritized her above all else, she would feel secure and grateful and never leave. But here's the reality most men learn the hard way. Love, by itself, is not enough to hold someone's attention, especially at the expense of your purpose. When you made her your center, you unknowingly gave away your power. You shifted your attention from the mission that made you attractive in the first place to the emotional comfort of being with her, and over time that shift killed the dynamic that drew her to you. She didn't walk away because you weren't kind enough or devoted enough. She walked away because you lost your edge, the fire from chasing something bigger than both of you. Stoicism teaches that a man must live according to nature, and that includes his nature to pursue meaning, excellence, and mastery. Love is a part of that, yes, but when love becomes your identity, you lose the balance that keeps your masculine energy alive. You stop being a leader, you stop growing, and as your purpose fades, so does her desire. Conversely, when you return to your mission, when your time, energy, and discipline are dedicated to something greater than validation or romance, you become magnetic again. Stop looking for someone to complete you, because you realize you're already whole. You show up in the world with intention. You move with clarity, and your presence alone shifts how people respond to you, including her. Dark psychology calls this the center of gravity. People are naturally drawn to those who are grounded in their path and who don't waver based on external emotions. The dynamic reverses when she sees that you are no longer orbiting around her, that you are focused, disciplined, and unavailable for emotional games. You are no longer the man waiting, you are the man she has to catch up to. But here's the twist. You won't need her anymore by the time she realizes this. Because when you're walking in purpose, you're too fulfilled to crave someone who couldn't appreciate it the first time. You're no longer building your life to prove her wrong. You're building it because it's who you are. Let your love be strong, but let your purpose be stronger. Because love may draw someone in, but purpose keeps you standing when everything else falls away. Now, speak out and comment below, I follow purpose, not approval. Number 9. She may regret leaving, but you've outgrown the return. There might come a moment when she realizes what she lost. Not immediately, maybe not even soon, but eventually, after the attention fades, after the rebound burns out, after the silence settles in, she starts thinking, not just about the memories, but about the man you were becoming when she walked away. And that's when regret creeps in, not because she suddenly became a better person, but because she can feel your absence in a way that cuts deeper than expected. But here's what makes the difference. You're not waiting for that moment. You're not planning for it, rehearsing for it, or emotionally preparing to welcome her back. Why? Because the man she's regretting losing doesn't exist anymore. You've grown past him. You've evolved. You've moved forward, not just physically or financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You've outgrown her in every way that matters. The Stoics didn't teach growth as revenge, they taught it as responsibility. You don't level up to hurt or make her wish she'd stayed. You level up because it is your obligation to yourself, because you understand that pain is not a dead end. It's a doorway, and through it you've stepped into a new version of yourself. One who doesn't need validation, closure, or a second chance. One who doesn't care whether she regrets it because your worth was never dependent on her recognition. Dark psychology has a term for this: value reversal. The person who once discarded you now sees your worth, but by the time they do, the value has shifted. They're no longer the ones choosing, you are. And often, you no longer even want what they're offering, not out of pride, but because you've built a life they no longer fit into. She may reach out, she may send signals, she may say she misses the old you, but that's the point. The old you is gone, and she doesn't know this new man, not truly, because he doesn't explain himself, he doesn't look back, he doesn't shrink to fit into a story he's already outgrown. So what do you do when the door she once closed swings back open? You smile. You stay silent. You keep walking, not because you're heartless, but because you're finally whole. You don't return to places that broke you. You don't rebuild what was meant to collapse. And you don't lower your standards just because someone has finally opened their eyes. You've become unreachable not out of bitterness, but out of growth. Now, speak out and comment below, her regret is irrelevant. I've already moved on. Number 10. She thought you'd wait. Now she waits alone. In the beginning, she was confident. Confident you'd stay stuck in place, emotionally circling her memory. Confident you'd linger in her shadow, hoping, replaying, waiting. She may have even believed that you'd be there no matter where she went or who she chose, just in case. That quiet expectation gave her power. And for a while, maybe she was right. But what she didn't expect, what she couldn't predict, was that you'd stop waiting one day. The turning point wasn't loud. It didn't come with declarations or closure. It happened quietly when you woke up and realized you were done. Done fantasizing about a return, done hoping for a message, done shrinking your life into the space she left behind. And in that moment, you reclaimed your future. You chose movement over stagnation, purpose over nostalgia, peace over chaos. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes more than just an idea, a way of living. The man who follows his inner compass doesn't dwell on lost love. He doesn't chase shadows. He understands that time is the most precious currency, and wasting it on someone who chose to walk away is the ultimate betrayal of self. When you stopped waiting, you didn't just let her go. You permitted yourself to grow. Now she waits, not because she's certain of you, but because she's uncertain of herself. The power dynamic has reversed. You are no longer accessible, no longer responsive, no longer orbiting her world. She checks her phone, and there's nothing. She scrolls, hoping to glimpse your life, and finds silence. She asks mutual friends about you and hears stories of progress, focus, and success, and in her mind the question lingers: did I lose something I'll never get back? From a dark psychology perspective, this is emotional displacement. She projected security onto your presence and assumed it would always be there, but now that it's gone, she feels exposed, vulnerable. She miscalculated. She thought she had time, but time is something you no longer offer. The most powerful move you've made isn't that you walked away and never looked back. And that silence, that stillness, that forward motion without pause, it's louder than any words you could have said. Because now, she's the one left in limbo. She's the one wondering. She's waiting for a man who no longer needs to return. You became everything she didn't expect, not a man broken by loss, but one reborn through it. Now, speak out and comment below. She thought I'd wait. I've already gone too far to turn back. You came here thinking you needed a way to get her attention. Now you realize the real answer wasn't noise, it was presence. You walked away not to punish her, but to protect your peace, and in doing so you became something far more powerful than she expected. She didn't break you. She revealed the part of you that still needed to rise. If you're ready to continue that journey, like this video, subscribe, and comment. I am unstoppable. Stay grounded. Stay silent. Let your evolution do the talking.